it's my really great pleasure and joy and honor to introduce to you Professor Enes Karic, who is visiting from Sarajevo. Professor Karic is Dean of the Faculty of Islamic Studies in the University of Sarajevo. He's written dozens and dozens and dozens, I don't know how many articles, in many different languages. He has 2 books in English? 3 books in English, I'm sorry. I'm familiar. I'm very familiar with one of them. I'm familiar with 2. I can remember now 3. We're very fortunate that Professor Karic is in Yale University these days. He was speaking on sacred music, was it?
Day before yesterday, yes. Institute of Sacred Music.
So we benefited and were able to convince him to come up for a very short trip. Professor Karic will speak to us on traditional Islamic, not the 20th century, but more traditional Islamic culture and knowledge in Bosnia today. I think there was a slight mistake on our announcement, and I apologize for that. And Professor Karic was born in Travnik, which was the old Ottoman capital of Bosnia-Herzegovina. He's now in Sarajevo, as I said, at the Center for Islamic Studies. And I think what we'll do today is Professor Karic will speak for about 40-45 minutes. Then we'll introduce us to some cultural aspects of Bosnian production. And then we can open up the floor for questions and hopefully for a more engaged discussion. Today's event is hosted by from Boston University by the Institute for the Study of Muslim Societies and Civilizations, and by the International Summer School on Religion and Public Life, both are co-hosting this event, and Professor Karic's time with us. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. I would like in the very beginning to express my thankfulness to Professor Adam Seligman and also to Michael Carroll. Both of them did their best to arrange my trip to Boston. Thank you, all of you, for coming to be present during presentation, during this presentation. In order to be so economic with our time, I will read some parts of my lecture. The first part of it is where is Bosnia? Sometime in 1993, at the height of the war in Bosnia-Herzegovina, I was in Sarajevo, the country's capital city, under siege, watching CNN. They were asking one question to the people in the street: where is Bosnia? Confused passers-by of New York were making guesses. Some said Bosnia was in Africa, others placed it in Asia, and some even suggested that it might be somewhere in South America. As you can see from these maps, Bosnia-Herzegovina is a European country situated in the southeast of Europe, that is to say, in the Balkan Peninsula. It is located more or less halfway between Florence and Istanbul. It is wedged between the predominantly Catholic Croatia to the west and to the north, and to the mainly Eastern Orthodox Serbia and Montenegro to the east. This geographic position of Bosnia shows that it is a country in between, and as well as an interior country, or terra interiora, as the old Latins used to describe it. It is as if Bosnia's geography shaped Bosnia's very history. Throughout its history, Bosnia was a country in between. Now, new section of my presentation is Islamization, question mark, the spread of Islam, question mark, embracing Islam, question mark. What are the stečaks? These are stečaks, the tombstones of Bosnia and some other parts of the Balkans, such as Serbia and Croatia. However, Bosnia has most of the surviving stečaks. They date back to Bosnian medieval period from the 9th to the 16th century. Some appeared in later period. Many historians, especially Croatian historians in the 19th century, linked Stečak to Bogomil heresy in Bosnia. Others say that they are linked to the heretical Bosnian church. To this day, Stečaks have remained an unsolved mystery. Many of them bear the sign of cross, but they also have the sign of crescent. Scholarly research into the phenomenon of Stečaks and funeral customs in medieval Bosnia, conducted in the second half of the 20th century, suggests that Stečaks belonged to everyone in Bosnia, to Roman Catholics, to Eastern Orthodox, and to followers of the Bosnian Church. Stečaks are simply an all-Bosnian phenomenon. In later period, for example, between the 15th and 18th century, we can see similarities between Stečaks and Nishans. Nishans are Muslim tombstones. But let's not confuse things. There are also similarities between Stečaks and the crosses of Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox graveyards. The use of Stečaks eventually ceased, and they were transformed into Muslim nishans and Catholic or Orthodox crosses. Graveyards are a proof that Islam spread among all inhabitants of Bosnia, as the new faith was adopted by Catholics, Orthodox, and the followers of the Bosnian Church. The Bosnian Church eventually disappeared, but Catholics and Orthodox did not. Bosnia has never been a country of one religion only. Muslims of Bosnia have formed a relative majority at different times, but never an absolute majority. This is the case today too. Was the spread of Islam a fast process? This question is frequently asked. On the basis of the detailed census of Bosnian Sanjak from 1604 or the Ottoman Empire defters, one can see that Islam was still spreading almost a century and a half after the fall of Bosnia under Ottoman rule in 1463. These defters, whose covers in Bosnian you are looking at, given the names of fathers and grandfathers as Vukoje, Milodraž, Radisav, Dabiživ. All of them are Christian names. The names of sons and grandsons are Ahmed, Mustafa, Muhammad, Orhan, Murat, etc., etc. The same goes for female names, whereas the names of grandmothers are Maria, Cieta, Draga, Kata. Kata in English is Kate. Daughters and the children of daughters are called Zaina, Aisha, Hatija, Fatima, etc., etc. Those defters or detailed description of private property and land suggests that the process of the spread of Islam in Bosnia did not happen overnight, but very slowly over a long period of time. But why did Islam spread in Bosnia more than in, say, Serbia or Croatia? First of all, I should explain that Islam had very strong presence in Serbia too. The region of Sanjak, straddling Serbia and Montenegro, is predominantly Muslim, even though historically it represents the cradle of the old Serb kingdom known as Ras or Raška. However, when it comes to the degree of conversion to Islam, Bosnia stands out as an exception. One of the answers may be found in the religious map of Bosnia between the 9th and 15th century. The religious factor was quite important. There was already a competition between Byzantium and Vatican from the 9th, 10th century onwards. Also, the Drina River, Bosnia's natural and historic border to the east, became a border between Catholicism and Orthodoxy after the schism of 1054. Following the Ottoman conquest of their country, many Bosnians considered that adopting the religion of the rulers was a way to gain life in peace. Besides, the economic factor also played a very important role. Ottoman Empire was the greatest world power in those days. It offered economic prosperity. Muslims from Bosnia and the Balkans in general were praised as officials serving in the Ottoman administration, education and army. This contributed, if not to the spread of Islam, then to the spread of Islamic culture and civilization. Here I would like to mention a fact that is often forgotten. Ottoman Empire facilitated not only the spread of Muslims, but also the spread of Jews and Orthodox Christians. When Jews were thrown out of Spain in 1492, they came to Ottoman Empire in large numbers and stayed there until the Holocaust. In the Ottoman Empire, Eastern Orthodox churches were big feudal landholders, and Orthodox population spread to central Croatia. According to many historians such as Malcolm Noel, Halil Inalcik, Colin Imber, the Ottoman Empire offered peace for Muslim, Christian and Jewish communities. Christians and Jews living in cities earned their living as traders and artisans. With regard to peasantry, they were Catholic, Orthodox and also Muslim peasants. Bosnia is an example of a country where serfs also accepted Islam and remained Muslims and serfs. Ottomans did not interfere into judicial and religious affairs of Jews and Christians. Moreover, the Jewish and Christian hierarchies were privileged. I would like to emphasize the fact that Ottoman population was incredibly mixed. We can still see it today in spite of the bloody wars recently. Living in towns and villages with people of other faiths is a legacy of the Ottoman era. What we are seeing now are images of Sarajevo, Travnik, Mostar, Trebinje, Tuzla. Nearly all Bosnian towns have mosques, Catholic and Orthodox churches, and some also have synagogues. I would like to show you here one synagogue. It is an Ashkenazi synagogue, very famous in Sarajevo, without any police in front of it. There is no need for this synagogue to be kept, because that synagogue or any other church or something will not be threatened by anyone. Okay. Sarajevo is an example of coexistence of 4 different religious houses of worship, all located within a square kilometer. Here we see the very center of Islam in the Balkans. It is Begova Džamija, the Gazi Husrev Mosque, in the middle of Sarajevo. Maybe 200 meters is the biggest Catholic cathedral in Bosnia-Herzegovina. And over there is a small Sephardic synagogue, very old. Between that cathedral and this mosque, the synagogue is situated. Spiritual institutions of Bosnian Muslims or Bosniaks. We have several spiritual institutions. First of all, it is Bosnian Muslim home. After that, mosques, madrasas, tekis and hanikahs or Sufi hostels, libraries. As a nation of Islamic religion and its own culture, Bosnian Muslims formed gradually from the second half of the 15th century onwards. Converts to Islam from the Bosnian Church, as well as from among the ranks of Bosnian Catholic and Bosnian Orthodox population, gradually over more than 5 centuries formed a special national group in Bosnia. One should always keep in mind that Islam in Bosnia includes many local Bosnian and Balkan features. Please allow me to say a few words about an important fact of both medieval and Ottoman Bosnia. Bosnia is a country of towns and cities. Of course, it also contains many villages, but it was towns that shaped traditional Bosnian spirit. Ottoman Empire contributed greatly to the development of Bosnian towns. Some of these towns grew out of medieval Bosnian settlements and forts. What is on the top of the hill is a medieval fortress. Below is the city of Teşan, very famous, and shaped by the Ottoman architectural tradition of building new cities. Also, Bosnian towns with their urban spirit partly contributed to the cultural and national formation of Bosnian Muslims. Over centuries, Bosnian towns, especially those most markedly shaped by Muslim presence, developed according to the architectural principle of the open book. This is the architectural principle of the open book. The river flows through the middle of the town, like a book. You could open it. This you can see from the images of Travnik, Sarajevo, Mostar. This is Mostar, Banja Luka, Goražde. The river flowing through the town symbolically signifies the point where the book opens and folds. The river is the horizontal axis of Bosnian towns. Mosques and churches on the river banks signify the vertical axis of Bosnian towns. It's very interesting. Bosnian towns have their marketplaces or squares, of course. This is the Baščaršija, the main marketplace in Sarajevo. In Ottoman times, marketplaces were the external aspect of towns. The marketplaces were for everyone, a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, a stranger. They were a scene of trade, commerce, and crafts. But Bosnian towns had their special quarters, Muslim, Catholic, Orthodox, and Jewish. Here is one Muslim quarter. These quarters were not ghettos, not at all. The quarters were very quiet, full of gardens and serenity. The quarters represent the internal aspect of Bosnian towns. From the 15th century onwards, we can see the development of a type of Bosnian Muslim house. An example of the Bosnian Muslim house, Svrzo's house in Sarajevo, is well known. Most importantly, the house is open to the sky and the sun. Furthermore, the big courtyard cobbled with stone gives peace and enhances the aesthetic ambience. A traditional Bosnian Muslim house consists of a section for men and a section for women of the household. This is one traditional Bosnian house built in Mostar. This is a section for men, and this one is for women. So-called selamluk and haremluk. Haremluk is for ladies, and selamluk for men, for gentlemen. Okay. The floor of the Bosnian Muslim home is covered within Bosnian kilims or woolen carpets, as you can see on this picture. In a way, Bosnian Muslim house has a strong flavor of sacral space, since the house is not entered with the shoes on. In other words, the shoes are taken off before entering. Even today, there are tens of thousands of homes like this one in Bosnia. Okay. Traditionally, there were tens of public water fountains in all parts of Bosnian Muslim towns. And now there is a new section in my presentation. It is mosques as sacral and cultural institutions of Bosnian Muslims. Some of Bosnian mosques are more than 5 centuries old. This is a mosque in the town of Ustikolina in eastern Bosnia. It was built in 1448 and destroyed in 1992 and rebuilt after the war. Of course, mosques played not only religious but also cultural and civilizational mission in Bosnia. Many mosques served as educational centers for Bosnian Muslims. Remarkably, Bosnian mosques display certain local characteristics in addition to Ottoman architectural features. These are examples of wooden mosques in Bosnia. There are many. For centuries, this has been the look of many mosques both in towns and villages. According to a legend, but it is really only a legend, wooden mosques in Bosnia were built only from trees brought down by wind. In other words, trees felled by human beings were not used for their construction. It is very important for ecology, for ecological consciousness today. City mosques display many features of Ottoman imperial architecture. For example, this mosque, known as Karađorđegovo Mosque in Mostar, was built in such a way that the color of its walls corresponds to the color of the surrounding mountains. The color of the dome of the mosque partly corresponds to the color of the sky over Mostar or to the Neretva river, which flows under it. One of the most beautiful Bosnian mosques was Ferhad Pašina Mosque in Banja Luka, destroyed in 1992. It is now being reconstructed. Also, Alađa Mosque in Foča displays similar features. This mosque was also destroyed in 1992, but is undergoing reconstruction. Just to mention here one very interesting information for you. The best Serbian architecture, Andrej Andrejević, he wrote his PhD and on this mosque, and he said this mosque as it was built in the sky and after that put to the soil, and not vice versa. Andrej Andrejević. So we are always aware that there are good Serbs, many of them, but their politics is not good. Okay. The interior of Bosnian mosque contain wonderful decoration. There is an example. This is Begova Džamija. This is Begova Džamija in Sarajevo, the main Bosnian Muslim mosque. Its floor is covered with precious carpets and kilims, while the walls are decorated with calligraphy. These two pictures are so important for us. Carpets on the floor and calligraphy on the walls. Now I would like to show you the mosque in the middle of winter under the snow. I'm showing you this because for some people the mosque usually carries connotations of a desert landscape. Madrasas, Islamic religious schools. Very briefly, I would like to mention madrasas as important religious and cultural institutions of Bosnian Muslims. This is the famous Gazi Husrebegova Madrasa in Sarajevo, founded in 1537 by Gazi Husrebeg. He was an Ottoman governor of Bosnia and a descendant of the Bosnian Christian nobility on his father's side, and of an Ottoman sultan on his mother's side. These are pictures of some other madrasas in Bosnia. This is Madrasa Elči Ibrahim Pasha's in Madrasa in Travnik. This is Tuzla Behranbegova medresa, medresa in Gračanica, the interior of the Gazi Hustrebi medresa in Sarajevo, etc., etc. Tekis and Hanikas. When it comes to the Tekis and Hanikas or Sufi hostels, one should say that even today, Bosnia has numerous Islamic mystical centers. In principle, the study of Islam in Bosnia was approached exoterically, while the Tekis cultivated an esoteric approach. There is the famous Gazi Hustrebek Hanika in Sarajevo, which survives to this day. This is Haji Sinan Teke in Sarajevo. Perhaps the most beautiful teke in Bosnia is this one, located at the source of the Buna River near Mostar. The principle of Bosnian Sufis has always been, if we should renounce this world, then we should do it where this world is at its most beautiful, near a river, springs, and in the middle of beautiful nature. All these Bosnian tekes and mystical institutions conduct very lively spiritual activities. But nearly all architecture of Ottoman period is full of spirituality. I'm going to show you a couple of bridges from that period. This is the famous bridge in Visegrad over the Drina River. It was built by Mehmed Pasha Sokolović, Prime Minister or Wazir al-Wuzara of the Ottoman Empire. Here we see two aspects of the Ottoman architecture. The visible one is the material part of the bridge, and the invisible or esoteric one is this shadow under the material bridge. And this picture is present only during May, June, July, and August in Visegrad in eastern Bosnia. It's very interesting. It is now in Republika Srpska. Of course, all Serbs in Bosnia, they used to say that Mehmed Pasha Sokolović was Serb, and after that converted to Islam. We, the Muslims of Bosnia, and we, and also Croats in Bosnia, we used to say he was Bosnian. He was Bosnian. So that is, forecasting into history. Forecasting into history. Okay. This is the old bridge in Mostar. Everyone can see that the bridge has the shape of crescent. With its shadow in the water, the circle becomes full. That is the symbol of the human cycle of life. These are examples of some other bridges. Always there is a so-called esoteric bridge. It is in a way Siratul Mustaqim, the right path in Islam, or something which is always present, you know. Traditional Bosnian libraries. The best example of a traditional Bosnian library is Gazi Hustrebegova library. Today this library contains some 10,000 manuscripts in Bosnian, Arabic, Turkish, and Persian. Some of them are in Latin also. Many manuscripts have beautiful calligraphy. The Quran manuscripts are particularly embellished. With regard to book culture in Sarajevo, it suffices to say the names of two old streets there, Muđeliti Veliki and the Muđeliti Mali, which literally means big book binders street and small book binders street. And now a folk religion in contemporary Bosnia. Folk Islam or folkloristic Islam in contemporary Bosnia. The main forms of folk religion among Bosnian Muslims are Mevlud celebrations, Dove or outdoor prayer places, Hatma, Tevhid, and the two Bayrams religious festivals. Mevlud, Mevlud means marking or celebrating the birthday of the Prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him. As a popular manifestation in Bosnia, Mevlud appeared in the late 15th century. Mevluds are organized on various occasions. For example, on the occasion of a successful university graduation, when joining the army, before leaving for pilgrimage to Mecca, at weddings, when a child is born, etc., etc. Mevlud may be performed in the mosque, at home, and even outdoors. In some parts of Bosnia, Mevlud also takes place 7 or 40 days after a person's death. This is a picture of Mevlud. Many Hojas participate here in realization of that ceremony. Many songs are recited here in Bosnia, but many Arabic. During our recently times, we used to use some English songs or songs about Islam in English. It is new custom. It is invention, but good invention. This picture shows us a wedding ceremony in Sarajevo. There are 2 witnesses. This is Hoja, or let's say Qadi, or judge of institution, religious institutions for signing this new wedding. But this ceremony always is done after this civil procedure in a municipality. It is per muss, as Germans say. First, you have to have a wedding in the civil court or in municipality. After that, religious ceremony. This religious ceremony. Okay. In Bosnian, this is an example of Bosnian dova or outdoor prayer. In Bosnian, dova means prayer. It should not be confused with salat or one of the 5 daily prayers. Large communal dovas usually take place outdoors in the countryside. Here we can see an echo of pre-Islamic times and customs. Actually, these are pre-Islamic outdoor gatherings which later only acquired an Islamic form. Here we see so-called ženski džemat u Bosni, the women community of Islam in Bosnia-Herzegovina. It's very interesting. Outdoor prayer. Dovas are held on mountain tops, usually in late spring or early summer. These gatherings certainly mark the arrival of a fertile summer, and people pray to God for good health, prosperity, and good harvest. This is Ajvatovica, toponym in Bosnia, the best known place for dova in Bosnia. This again is dova at the source of the there is also dova at the source of the Buna River near Mostar. As you can imagine, natural surroundings give special atmosphere to this popular religious ritual of Bosnian Muslims. Traditionally, these gatherings have had additional functions. People would get together. Boys and girls might find their future spouses there, etc., etc. At a later stage, all these gatherings turn into festivals, or the so-called teferic. It is Arabic word teferruj. Popular gatherings filled with songs and merriment. Hatma. In Bosnian, hatma means to recite the holy Quran within a short time, let's say a week or 2. The blessings of this act is then given as a gift to the soul of the dead, or for the fulfillment of a wish, murad, such as recovering from illness, successful passing of a university examination, etc., etc. It is also noteworthy that Hatma celebrations are usually held in Muslim villages or towns when children in groups of 20 to 30 have just completed reading the whole of the Quran over the course of a school year. Here we can see Hatma celebrations. Children are given presents. They are now able to read the Quran in Arabic even though they would not understand the meaning of the text. Hatma ceremonies usually take place at the end of spring or early summer. And this is Tawheed. Tawheed is also very important. Particularly, this was good invention during communist regime in Bosnia-Herzegovina. All our religiosity, I could say 95 of it, was behind veils. And our women invented Tawheed. Tawheed means witnessing that God is one. But these ladies, they do not technically what is Tawheed, but practically yes. Of course, they believe in one God. But Tawheed here is gathering, not Tawheed as an Islamic notion, you know. It is gathering. Majority of them are university professors. They are physicians, very educated women in Sarajevo. This is an example of Tawheed in the Begova Jamia in Sarajevo. Tawheed is a form of religious expression practiced at home, which makes it a more intimate form of piety. It usually brings together a small number of people who know each other. Tawheed is a ceremony whereby those attending it chant God's names, reminding themselves that God is one and only, hence the name. Tawheed may be held in mosques too. For example, in Sarajevo, one finds the so-called women's Tawheed, which takes place on the day of a person's funeral. As funerals are attended by men, women gather in the house of the dead family, of the bereaved family, or in a local mosque to perform Tawheed. Tawheed is also performed on the death anniversary of a near relative, etc., etc. In socialist period, Tawheed was a way of expressing Muslim piety at home and away from the public gaze. Celebrating two Bayrams, Ramazan Bayram and Kurban Bayram. It is during the two Bayrams that celebrations of folk religion reach their height. Bayram celebrations consist of, first of all, going to mosque, then visiting parents, children, relatives and neighbors. This is followed by visiting graveyards and saying Fatiha for the souls of the departed relatives. I have mentioned it previously that Bosnian Muslim graveyards are part of a larger urban zones in towns and villages. Actually, our graveyards, traditional ones in Bosnia-Herzegovina, there is no any fence around it, any barrier, because our graveyard is part of our life. Children are playing their games there. The graveyard is full of nature. Muslim graveyard is full of nature. Even Ivo Andrić, who was given a Nobel Prize for his novels against, he was given Nobel Prize for his literature, but many books written by Ivo Andrić are really against Muslims. Because he sees that the Muslim element in the Balkans is a strange element. I'm Slav, I'm Enes Karic, I'm a Muslim, I'm proud of being Muslim. My homeland is Bosnia, not only for me, but also for Croats, for Serbs. It is multicultural society, but I'm really proud being European, being Muslim, etc., etc. The fact that we converted to Islam is not any reason that we have no right to Bosnia. Martin Luther, he put away Catholicism. He began to be, Protestant, and he has right to German. What is the difference between me and Martin Luther? But even Ivo Andrić, he praised Muslim graveyards as places full of beauty, full of nature, and very open for life, not for death, for life. Now it's time to hear some Bosnian religious songs. Please, Michael, help me. As a Muslim, I'm not so much familiar with technique. I brought with me translations of these songs. So please. This is Ey Allah, O Allah. This is in verja of my heart, in the deepness of my heart.
Be
now something modernized, but very religious. I will explain the meaning of the song. Okay, the meaning of the song is in brief as follows. Meira is in Bosnian Mary. Mary. But Meira is a Muslim. And she died as girl, as young girl. And she, as a dead person, sends a message to her mother. Oh, my mother, believe in God. Fast months of Ramadan, sacrifice your kurban, etc., etc. In a matter of fact, this is a very good Bosnian propaganda for Islam, for the sake of Islam. Say, pray, give, fast, travel. 5 pillars of Islam. This is our Mary. Okay, there is one song more, please. It is very interesting. After this song, your answers, your questions, my answers, my questions.
Dolazi iz duše.
I would call you my Lord. I would call you my Lord. You have translation. here one table, around it Moses, Jesus, Job, Muhammad, the best people in religious world of universe. So that is all what I wanted to convey you in brief. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Professor Karic. And thank you for a very informative, multifaceted presentation. And I think I would certainly like to use the opportunity of your presence here to expand the discussion, maybe even around themes that you raised. So the floor is open. Anybody who has questions?
Yes.
So, please present yourself.
I'm Shlomo Fisher from television. I'd like to ask a question about the head covering, the women's head covering, which it seems to me, I come from the Middle East, so it seems to me to be Middle Eastern. And I'm not sure that is this also Balkan, or is this also the traditional head covering?
This is
in
traditional
Bosnia?
traditional Bosnian way of
You meant in
covering
the last film.
In the last
covering,
film.
yes.
In the last film.
Yes, yes. In the last film.
The last
Yeah,
film.
the last
Now,
film.
the last thing, not what is on the...
On the screen.
That was on the screen now. The last song. The women in the chorus in the last screen.
It is. She is, you know, yes, choreography.
Yeah.
Just choreography, nothing more. But in Sarajevo, and we are really very proud of the fact, there are many, let's say 60% like European way of behaving of women. I mean, with uncovered heads. And let's say 40% with the hijab. But majority of them are Muslims.
No, I understand that.
Of course.
No, I was asking about what kind of hijab. Is the hijab what the traditional Bosnian hijab?
It is traditional Bosnian. Traditional Bosnian. You see here different colors, you know. Very different colors. Not black. Not just black color. No. Different colors. It is our way. Yes.
Please.
Okay.
Anybody else? Roland?
Is the music that we heard Sufi of Sufi inspiration?
Yeah, you are right. Yes.
Yep.
This is music made by Bosnian musicians, Sufis, Sufi-oriented people. But of course, in these choruses, there are many Serbs, many Croats, not only Muslims. I don't want to confuse you, make you confused. No, never. We are still in Bosnia very mixed society. There is Islamic society in Bosnia, Catholic society in Bosnia, Eastern Orthodox society in Bosnia. Also, there is a small but very influential Jewish community in Bosnia, in a way Jewish society. But we live together. There are many mixed marriages, particularly in big cities, and more our refugees are in the process of returning to their homes. You know, the more European community, the more and presence of the European community in the Balkans, the more democracy in the Balkans. That is it.
I'd like to ask you a question, Professor Karic.
I'm ready, but there are two ladies.
Ladies first, always.
Ladies first.
I'm Kristen Lucan, and I'm a third-year PhD student who actually lived in the Balkans for 5 years. And I have a question about the newly formed nation of Bosnia. Would you say that the predominant identity of the people is Muslim, or is it sort of a multi-ethnic national identity?
A good question, and very difficult to answer to it, when it comes to the Bosnian Muslims, or to the Bosniaks, we are now Bosniaks nationally. Nationally, we are the Bosniaks. Our feeling is, we put an accent first to our Muslimhood, after that to our nationhood. When it comes to the Albanian people, they put an accent to their nation. They are Albanians first, after that Muslims. In Bosnia, it's quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. So, our identity, culturally, our national identity is made up of Islam and Bosnian local customs, and of course our long life in Islam, culturally, civilizationally, religiously, etc., etc. Of course, this is a rule, but there are many exceptions. You could be a communist in Bosnia-Herzegovina, but Muslim culturally. In the same time, an atheist. But culturally, you are Muslim. You are a strong defender of Islam as a culture, as civilization, etc., etc. So we put our accent as the Bosniaks, first to Islamhood, or it is better to say Muslimhood. After that, Bosnianhood. When it comes to the Albanians, it is quite the opposite. Of course, after the war, after the Dayton Agreement, we are free people. We would like to push all our national institutions forward. And these songs, now it is climax in Bosnia of these songs, arousing these songs. Very, high quality, really. I was looking at your faces when you are listening to these songs, and really I'm convinced that the quality is high, because you were following these songs with patience. Okay?
Yes, I just had a quick question. I'm Melinda Krokis, also a third-year PhD student, and with Croatian background. My mother's from Zagreb and Pakrac, and I've spent quite a bit of time in the Balkans, and I'm interested also with the Ilahis, and if they're composed, are they translations of, I was attending an Akshbandi Zikr in Sarajevo when they were singing in Turkish, actually.
Yeah, you are right.
Then thought I heard some that were being translated from Turkish, of Yunus Emre, and so
good question.
and then some who are composed.
Majority, the last one, around one table, the best people all over the world. Muhammad, Jesus, Moses, Job, Jacob, There is one version of it. It is domestic. Mm-hmm. It is a legend that one Bosnian Sufi, ordinary man, he sang the song. But the second version is Yunus Emre. You mentioned his name. And you are right. Majority, let's say 50% of these songs are taken from Arabic, even from within Jewish tradition in Bosnia-Herzegovina. For example, kad ja pođo na Bembašu na vodu, when I was visiting a spring of Bembaša, etc., etc., it is originally Jewish song in Sarajevo, Jewish song. But now Muslims Muslims took it as theirs own. What I want now to show to you. Yeah, this is 100% either a student of my faculty, Faculty of Islamic Studies, or either she is maybe pupil in one of our madrasas. If you see girl in Bosnia with the head covers like this one, it shows you now that she is student of the Faculty of Islamic Studies, or she is a pupil in the Ghazi Husrein Bey Madrasa or one of other madrasas. It is very interesting. Okay.
I have a question.
Selima.
So you gave a fascinating presentation of the connection between two, at least theoretically, not necessarily in the Bosnian case, at least two theoretically separable phenomena. One is the history of Islam in Bosnia, which came with the Ottomans, and the other is tradition. Tradition as tradition, right? And now, just in one of your answers now, you sharpened this in saying something I think terribly important with great significance way beyond Bosnia in terms of a general problem. You said that in Bosnia you could have been a communist, but you were still part of Muslim culture. You could be an atheist and part of Muslim culture. And what you're presenting, and I agree with you, I don't have the knowledge not to know, but my intuition is that you're absolutely right. And what this points to is the ability, at least in Bosnia, for Muslim culture, or for a particular Muslim culture, to be an integrative source, to be a ground
Yes.
where different people, not necessarily Muslims, can share a culture, which is if true, is a terribly important point, right? Because the claim made in general is that religion, any religion, cannot serve as a basis for inclusion of others. Maybe some will admit a sort of Christian roots of secular Europe, and in that sense, but nobody's willing to go beyond that. You say, look, here, Islam, Muslim culture, I also agree with you, it's more comfortable to talk about Muslim culture than Islam, has provided such a ground, which is an important empirical fact with important implications beyond Bosnia in the Muslim world and beyond Islam, in religion in general. But now I have a question. Within this, let's assume that this is indeed the case. Where do we put the phenomena of King Fahd Mosque?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when you pass the Malaysian mosque in Sarajevo? Do these mosques, what they represent architecturally, which is very different from the pictures that you showed us, right?
Professor Selim.
You see where I'm going?
Absolutely. The best answer would be not from my side, but from the side of the Grand Mufti of Bosnia-Herzegovina, Resulema Mustafa Ceric. He is, responsible for these mosques, and please invite him to explain the new really phenomena in Bosnia-Herzegovina. These mosques built by the money from the Gulf states.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a picture of these mosques?
No.
I could have brought it, have in my office.
No, even many of us even do not see those mosques so important for our architectural culture, because they are novelty in Bosnia.
They're a negation of your architectural culture.
In a way, yes.
It's not our history.
Yeah.
History is the Ottoman history. It's like that.
Yeah.
New countries.
So my question is,
Professor, new countries build new mosques. It's a good, they're beautiful place and beautiful mosques, but everybody can do but their own style. No problem. And we accept, everybody can build
their own style.
Yeah, their own style. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, if I may.
Could I just mention one there? The question, of course, was not about the mosque. The question is, what happens to traditional culture and traditional Islamic culture in Bosnia, which provided and provides, and we're saying can provide this grounds for everyone. What happens to it? I'm asking. What is happening to it under the impingement of what is represented by these new mosques. That's what my question is, not the style of the mosque.
But there is no fear of changing madhab in Bosnia-Herzegovina, because you know what is madhab?
I'm sorry, man.
It is, a legal school followed in Islam. In Bosnia-Herzegovina, we are followers of the Hanafi school, and it is Hanafi school. It is really very present, and there is no any reason for fear that we will become, let's say, Wahhabis. No. The mainstream of our people, of the Muslim believers in Bosnia-Herzegovina, the mainstream of our professors, intellectuals, the mainstream is traditional one, Bosnian traditional one, and we will keep that tradition as something precious.
Inshallah.
Precious.
Yes, if I may, a quick question. You build up on these dualities with the river being kind of the meeting point, you said, but you made a distinction between horizontal and vertical churches.
Axis, yes.
You showed us the courtyards in the houses, perhaps indicating that there is the sun, the presence of the sun, but I was interested in the dualities that you were building, and in anticipating that I would hear more on the Islamic thought in Bosnia-Herzegovina, I wanted to ask you what you were trying to draw us into by showing these dualities from architecture. What does Bosnia has to offer to Islamic thought?
Professor Seligman is a bigger specialist when it comes to that field, but I'll try to give you my answer. There is let's say, opinion that our forefathers were Bogumils, who were dualists, and our Bosnian Muslim literature shows that. And our also traditional Sufi thought shows that. So your question is very wise. Yes.
Hi, my name is Lucha Pune. I come from the region. I would not specify which one, but actually I would say that I come from that region. I'm a PhD student here. I would just first give a remark that the thing that Professor actually showed us here do not necessarily actually bound to Bosnia, but actually they spread even to Montenegro, Kosovo, Macedonia, Albania as well. And we must recognize one thing, that Bosnia as per se, actually during the Ottoman Empire, it was the center for the whole region. And we, for instance, in my town, or even actually in Albania or Kosovo, you will have, we had a kind of gradation of imams. And we knew that if the guy came from Gazi Kusur or Madrasa, that he must be a very good one. If he came from Skopje, that's a kind of BU compared to Harvard, etc., etc. So, okay, I'm taking that back. And the second issue is that I would mention here is that even with the presence of New King Fahd Mosque and Malaysian Mosque in Bosnia, again, the synagogue, actually a lot of them, and the other shrines actually are still protected, are still actually untouched by anybody. And I think the common root of that tolerance actually comes from the principles actually that you will find as well in Turkey, actually will come to the root of Islam, right? Because there is no compulsion in religion. And I have a question which could probably be a bit much more trickier. Do you feel that after the war, actually people feeling that, okay, we were killed because we were Muslims, actually that they started to become much more Muslim and started reading more and getting interested to the religion?
There is, you know, in majority of our hearts, in majority of our minds, there is a principle. Had we not been Muslims, we wouldn't have been massacred. Had we not been Muslims, we wouldn't have been raped, etc., etc. There is that feeling, but we have to go forward. We have to see in future. We have to collaborate with the international community. Our hopes really are now oriented towards the States and towards the European community. But there is that notion. Had we not been Muslims, we wouldn't have been massacred, etc. Okay.
But you could end the lecture with where you began, with the defters and the change of names. And one way to look at that would be to look at the change of names, if there are, within certain areas of Bosnia, Sarajevo, in the past 15 years, or the past 10 years.
Yes.
To see the name giving to young children, young male children or female children, in the past 10 years, if they've become more, as it were, Muslim. My guess is yes.
Excuse me, I've forgotten to give you an explanation about this building. This is, in matter of fact, a church. It is an old Bosnian church without cross. As you see, it is without cross. Historically, this place is known as Bobovac. It is the capital of the medieval Bosnia-Herzegovina. Now, that church has a cross, Croatian or Catholic. We used to say Catholic cross. What was this church previous? Previously, it was maybe a Bogomil church or a church of the Bosnian church. But now, the Bosnian church in Bosnia disappeared. It was dualistic church. It disappeared, ceased to exist. And this very church was given to the Catholic community.
And that's part of a much, much, much larger phenomenon
Yes.
of religion all over Europe being rearticulated ethnically, and ethnic identities being rearticulated in religious terms. And that's going on everywhere. It's essentially a dangerous phenomenon.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you all very much for coming.